My daughter Ella is 15. When she started high school last year, we were told the band would be going on this field trip to Orlando. Of course, the trip was expensive. Since Ella is growing up, my husband and I decided that if she wanted to go, she would have to pay half of the cost. Ella agreed, and she started spending weekends or teacher workdays on holidays babysitting her siblings, 5M, 9F, for $22 an hour. Either my husband or I would stay home and make sure everything was all right, and if there were times that both of us had to be out of the house, we'd make sure to ask our neighbors to keep an eye out and pay Ella $25 an hour. We were never gone for more than 2 hours. With babysitting, some family members graciously providing her with money to help her out, cleaning, and some money she had already saved, Ella was able to make a good amount of money, which we were so proud of her for and made sure to voice this to her. Ella was able to make enough money quickly, so we were planning to sign her up for the trip. But earlier this week, I was informed that Ella had been mistreating a girl in her grade for having a mental illness, writing awful notes and putting them in the girl's bag, spreading disgusting and derogatory rumors, posting things about her online. It's a whole mess, and when I was called in, I could barely even listen the moment after I was told my daughter was bullying someone. I thought I had raised her right, told her to treat everyone with respect and kindness. I've never seen any sort of signs or behavior that would ever indicate that Ella even thought badly about others, and now after 15 years I'm told she fat-shamed a little 14-year-old girl? Her excuse being that someone with an illness shouldn't be allowed to get a higher test score than her. Ella was given a suspension, but it's very short. The school's motto is that they don't tolerate bullying at all, yet it feels as if she was only given a slap on the wrist and told not to do it again. It also feels wrong that I'm thinking this way, but I do think that there should be more done. The girl Ella had been bullying is also in the band, and I'm pretty sure she will be going to Orlando. Would it be wrong if I didn't allow Ella to go on the trip? She paid for half of the trip, but I don't think she deserves to go. I can't think of any other way to punish her. She loves to read and isn't on her phone often. She has a good amount of friends, but doesn't hang out with them often. What am I supposed to do, take away her books and make her hang out with her friends more? Yeah. I think the trip is a good lesson, but my husband and a good friend of mine don't agree with the decision, the reasoning being that Ella worked for that money. I understand what they mean, which is why of course I'll let Ella keep what she earned, just not let her go on that trip. I don't want that girl to have any possibility of being bullied again. Comment 1. NTA. Schools historically don't step in until the bullying gets to a significant extent and rarely ever suspend unless it's bad, which it sounds like it was. She needs to understand the severity of bullying, especially someone who has struggles they cannot control. I'd hate to think of how stressful the trip may be for her victim, knowing she's going to have to interact with her tormentor. The girl doesn't deserve that, regardless of how much money your daughter saved up. Comment 2. NTA. If this was my daughter, she wouldn't see Orlando until the moon turns red. Save the dollar till you see fit when she can use it. I would not allow her to go one bit. She doesn't deserve to go, and if you or your husband allow it, you just enabled her disgusting behavior. Comment 3. NTA. This is not about who paid for it. This is about consequences of her actions. There are lots of times in life where you will miss out on things you want, or lose money, as a consequence of your other actions. She was allowed to go because you thought she was well behaved and she earned her share of the cost. It doesn't matter that she can afford to go, she is no longer allowed to go. Just because you didn't implicitly say that she had to not be cruel, doesn't mean it wasn't implied. She can use the time she was supposed to here away to study, so that maybe next time she will be actually smarter than the other girl, not just think she deserves to be. My mom had a pretty big fight with her parents when I, 25M, was 10. The fight was about the blended family and how she wanted it to be, and the fact that my mom did not want my grandparents to want time with just me. She was fine if they wanted just my stepsisters or the three of us together. But she said just me left my stepsisters feeling like they weren't as special, even if they got their own time. I told my mom I liked time with just my grandparents, and I liked getting away from my stepsisters. This made my mom more determined to stop the individual stuff I did with my grandparents. My grandparents wanted to give me that time and refused to stop completely, so my mom stopped me from seeing them and we went no contact, which was not my choice. For the next 8 years my mom would have regular talks with me about choosing the blended family over extended family. She told me over and over that my stepsisters were just my sisters, that I didn't need to say step, that I didn't need to want family experiences without them because they were family, and as the oldest by 5 months I should try to take on the role of big brother in a positive and loving way. She told me what my grandparents allowed was not kind and inclusive. She would ask me not to mention my grandparents or any of the extended family around my stepsisters. My mom went no contact with her siblings after they told her she went too far taking my grandparents away from me. She saw it as a betrayal that they were standing by their parents. Despite all the effort my mom put in, I never saw things the way she wanted me to. I continued to miss my extended family over the years and I never saw my stepsisters as just sisters. No bad blood as such, but we're not close and it is not a priority for me. They would not come before my closest friends, for example. And I did get back in touch with my extended family once I went away to college and we're in touch again and closer than ever. My mom disapproves, but I'm not reliant on her anymore. So here's what happened. My grandparents wanted to arrange a vacation for the family for this summer. I said I would go and so is the rest of the family. Mom is the only one not invited. My aunt posted her excitement on Facebook about the vacation and I guess my mom still cyber stalks her siblings despite unfriending them on Facebook because she saw the post and saw I was mentioned. She had a meltdown over this and told me I could not and should not go. She told me to think of my sisters and to put our family first for once in my life. I found out 2 days later that my stepsisters are actually upset. The older of the two told me it hurt to see me care more about my extended family than them, and she told me they saw me as a brother and it stings to know that even as an adult and after 16 years as family I would rather have my extended family to them. Comment 1. NTA. I also feel like if your mother had not made such a big deal, then maybe your stepsisters would have spent years getting to know your extended family and it could have possibly turned into an entire event where they were invited. Your mother tried to force her opinions on people and that never ever works. Comment 2. NTA. You're not choosing your extended family over your steps. You just have family that they are not a part of. Your mum is the R. Her trying to force things is probably why you aren't close to them. Go spend time with your family. You've lost enough. Let your mum know how wrong she was to keep you from them. Show her this post and all the replies you get. Comment 3. NTA, your mother created this situation. She and only she is responsible for the distance between you and your stepsisters. You had every right to define the familial relationship in terms you were comfortable with, stepsisters, and you were also well within your rights to want a relationship with your extended family. And now, as adults, your stepsisters don't seem to understand that you're absolutely entitled to have a relationship with your extended family, and your every waking moment doesn't need to be dedicated to them. I live in a rural area, in a town where Walmart is the main grocery store for most folks. There is one Walmart in a 30 miles radius, and people drive from all over to visit. Because of that, it is a pretty busy store. The scene. The Walmart parking lot. I had just finished shopping with my 3 young children and was walking out to my car. I had a pretty decent spot, maybe 4 or 5 spaces from the door. As I walked around towards the back of my vehicle to unload my groceries, a car pulled up and parked in the aisle behind me, apparently waiting on me to leave. I saw an open spot 2 spaces down they could have gone to and was annoyed. I'm not sure what it was, but I decided that I wasn't going to feel rushed by this person. I was just doing my own thing. They are choosing to wait. I have a lot of social anxiety, and often want to take up as little space as possible. But I decided to not let this get to me and just continue doing my routine. I started unloading the groceries into the trunk, talking to and bargaining with my impatient children the whole time. I glanced back at the waiting car and saw another car coming up the aisle. They waited behind the original car, unable to get around in the one-way lane. Again, unbothered, I continued putting my things into my car. Another car came up the aisle and waited behind the second car. I closed the tailgate and walked my cart over to the cart return as a third car pulled up behind the first waiting vehicle. I looked at the person behind the wheel of the first car and saw a sour and impatient expression. I looked at the driver, and looked at the cars piled up behind them, and decided that this person was in the wrong. Mind, it's not wrong necessarily to stop and wait for a space, but the spot 2 spaces down was still open. This person is holding all these people up, causing traffic. I don't know what came over me, but I decided this is my spot, and I'm leaving on my terms. I returned my cart and walked back to the car, ushering the children into their car's seats while they are begging for the snacks I bought them at the store. I get them settled and get into the driver's seat as a fourth car pulls up behind the original waiting car. I realized I left the snack for the kids in the trunk, and went around back to get them, and I saw a barrage of waiting cars. I grabbed the snacks, went back to the driver's seat, handed out the snacks to anxiously waiting kiddos, pulled out my phone and started scrolling. I waited there in the spot until the original car finally pulled away, the traffic jam following. I buckled my seat belt and safely pulled away. I looked back briefly and saw the original car circling the parking lot trying to get my spot back. So, I'm aware this was a petty and immature thing to do. I felt empowered in that moment because I hadn't let my anxiety get to me. I always thought it was just a funny little story, but recently somebody called me in a hole for causing a traffic jam. So what do you think? Comment 1. NTA. You don't owe anybody a parking spot, especially with an open one basically right next to you. You could have been waiting for a spouse to come out with a last-minute purchase, you could have been waiting for another passenger to get out of the bathroom. There's any number of reasons that you weren't ready to go just because you had part of your family in the car. If there's an empty spot right there, you don't block traffic like an obstinate mule just because the specific spot you wanted isn't empty yet. Comment 2. Yeah, I'm more annoyed at the people sitting there waiting for the shit than I am with the people they're waiting on when I come up on this. Also, why I'm totally fine parking way out in no man's land and just walking. It isn't just a witch getting into a spot. It's a bitch trying to leave the damn thing. The worst is when someone wants your spot, so they're blocking you from even getting out at all. Comment 3. NTA. A tiny traffic jam in a parking lot isn't even an inconvenience, it's expected from time to time. In my opinion, it was completely worth that satisfying moment of personal growth and instant karma. I'm serious about that. I love this story and I look up to you now because you stood your ground like that. I, 24F, did not ask my sister, 26F, to be a bridesmaid in my wedding. I decided to have just one. I asked my best friend who is more of a sister to me than my actual sister. I never wanted my sister to be a bridesmaid or to have a role as such in my wedding. And I got engaged in 2020 when it was just me and my fiancé living together for the first time, and we had nowhere to go and nothing to do for a few months, so I thought about it a lot, but I couldn't imagine asking her. There are 2 problems my family have. The first part is my sister is the favorite and my parents could not imagine me not wanting her to take center stage and become the center of attention at my wedding. My whole life I have heard how beautiful my sister is. She modeled as a kid and her appearance was always something a spotlight was put on. She was the star of the family and she loved it. She always had a way to drag attention off others to herself. I was seen as the ugly duckling and my sister had a way of nicely picking on that. If I went out with friends, she would say I should wear makeup to look nice, or she would suggest I should try to make myself look cute. She would say she was really glad nobody thought we looked alike. I started dating my fiancé in high school and it was one of the few times I was dragged to a party. He approached me and started flirting, and then my sister came over and told him that he deserved the pretty sister. He rejected her and we ended up leaving together, and we've been together ever since. But she brought it up when he came home with me for Christmas in 2019 and she joked that it wasn't too late. But I think she was serious. Despite all this, my parents believe we should be super close and I should adore my sister. The other problem is my sister was diagnosed with cancer 4 months ago. The treatments have ruined her hair and she has developed some other health complications from treatment. So now everyone feels so bad for her and is gathered around her trying to make her feel as beautiful as ever, and they want her to shine. So my parents feel like I should want to help her out by shining that light on her during the wedding. But I don't want that. I don't want her to steal the show. My parents asked me about bridesmaids a few weeks ago. I told them I had asked my best friend. Me being dumb, I didn't realize where it was going, and my parents told me to ask my sister and let her be the only bridesmaid. They said my best friend should understand and be happy to step aside. The following day my sister told me she wanted to be by my side when I get married and how we're sisters and stuff, and she also tried to say she didn't know if she would be here next year, so this would be so special to her. I said no to all 3 of them. I said she will not be my bridesmaid or my only bridesmaid. Ever since I said no, they have acted like I'm some monster for this, and they have shamed me heavily. It makes me question my saying no. Comment 1, NTA. Of course not. Your wedding should be special to you, not your sister. But expect your family to do something anyway to try to put the spotlight on your sister. She'll come in a wedding-type dress, they'll make an announcement about her cancer during the toasts, etc. Be prepared. Comment 2. Tell your family you think your sister being a bridesmaid would be too stressful for her, in her delicate condition. Tell them you want her to concentrate on herself and not overextend, and you won't consider making her your bridesmaid, much less your only bridesmaid, because you want what is best for her.